Hello and welcome back to the lab. So in this episode, we're going to continue working on the HP3480B digital voltmeter. When we left off in the previous episode, we had completed the cosmetic restoration and we had swapped out the overheating power transformer, um, put the unit back together, and as it turns out, we still had the original problem. And that problem was this. Um, when the instrument is cold, it seems to work just fine. But as it warms up, you start getting this bizarre scanning of eights across the digits. Um, Regardless of what the sample rate is, you get scanning of eights. When you have the input shorted, you should be reading 0 volts, but we have this weird 888 thing going on. It still does measure voltage, but there's some kind of a digital problem or something going on as it heats up. When I let the instrument cool down, it works perfectly. So let's get started on troubleshooting that. Because I have a parts donor unit, I thought it would be best to simply start swapping out assemblies one at a time, the circuit boards one at a time, until we isolate the problem at least to one of the circuit boards. So let's do that now. Okay, so I've removed the top cover, and due to the nature of the symptom, it seems more likely that it is the digital logic board, the A2 assembly. So I swapped that out with the other one. It's the A2 assembly. That's the red colored extractor. Um, I swapped that out and put in the A2 assembly from the donor parts unit. Now we have to wait and see if the problem goes away. And I don't know how long that will take, but we'll have to wait and see. And if it does, we've isolated the problem to the A2 assembly. And I think that's more likely what the problem is going to turn up to be on the A2 board. And just as I had suspected, it must be on the A2 board because I put the top cover back on with the donor parts unit A2 assembly installed, and we waited over an hour, and the failure symptom has not returned. The instrument is working just fine. So the problem somewhere on this A2 assembly. Let's see if we can maybe isolate where the failure is here. Okay, so let me tell you what I found. Um, Doing a visual inspection on the defective A2 assembly, I noticed that all of those TTL chips were on sockets. Now, at the time, TTL logic chips were brand new back in 1971 when this thing was made. And so they thought it would be a good idea to put all of those logic chips on sockets. And they later realized that those sockets were really the cause of a lot of intermittent problems. Well, um, I found by visual inspection, I didn't even have to use a scope probe or anything. This um, this chip, it actually is a 7400 quad 2 input NAND gate. That's exactly what it is. You see how corroded those pins are? That corrosion was making intermittent contact in the socket. I swapped this chip out with the identical one on the other board, and so far we have not seen the failure occur, so I'm pretty sure I have fixed the problem. What I'm going to try to do is remove some of this tarnish from these, I guess these are silver plated pins, and that's why they're so tarnished like that. I'll remove some of that corrosion and reinsert this original chip back into the board, and I imagine we will have a completed repair on this instrument. And after a little cleaning, this is what the pins look like on the chip now. Nice and shiny. So I'll reinstall this in the same socket, and hopefully our instrument repair will be complete. Well, I put the chip back in, and in fact, it did not work. And so taking a closer look at it, if you look very closely on the top of this chip, you can see it is cracked. I don't know if you can see that crack in the camera. And what happened was I used some Tarnex to clean the tarnish off the pins. And I guess the Tarnex got into the crack in the top of this chip and completely destroyed it. So now this chip is dead. So I put the other chip back in the board, and the instrument is still working, but I'll have to buy a new 7400 chip to drop in the parts donor A2 assembly board. But in any case, our 3480B is now repaired. I'm going to let it come to temperature, um, make some adjustments, run through the performance test, and make sure it meets all the specifications. It's a DC only instrument, right? So there shouldn't be any problem doing that. Okay, so I went through the complete realignment procedure, and the instrument meets all its original factory specifications. So our restoration is complete. The HP3480B digital voltmeter is ready to be put back into service in my lab. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more fun with vintage electronics. Thanks again.